let's just get this out of the way. Disclaimer, the following will contain spoilers for 13 Sentinels Aegis stream. If that's not what you're into, click out of the video. I'll give you a few seconds so I'm talking insensately. If you're still here, then enjoy. On this episode of 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim Character Profiles, Episode 3, we'll be talking about our resident favorite singing rabbit. Yes, because she's called Inaba. Tomi Kisaragi. Oh wait, excuse me. I should try to say that in Ida's voice. Tomi Kisaragi. And as usual, we'll be going by the chronological order inside the game. So we'll be starting with the 22nd century 2188 Tomi Kisaragi. The 2188 Tomi Kisaragi's field of expertise slash research was terraforming. She was an integral part of Project Art and the Interstellar Development Project as a whole, namely the development part, because she was the one who designed the second phase of the Interstellar Development Project. The logistics she provided for terraforming were integral because of the fact that without that, Chihiro Morimura would have no basis on how to design the implements and the machines needed to fulfill the Interstellar Development Project. Basing it on the data from Tomi, she coordinated with Yuki Takemiya to eventually create the self-replicating probes and also how they were to function and what process they were going to follow. I don't know what to call this, but there's an interesting little detail about the date, or should I say the month. The report was done on February 8th, meaning that this report was given 4 months prior to the infection that wiped out humanity. Because of the fact that, from what we can infer, the infection started around June. And as per usual, we have no data on the first loop Tomi Kisaragi, so onward to the second loop Tomi Kisaragi, namely Miyuki Inaba. Miyuki Inaba was first introduced as an aspiring, or should I say, starting to grow popular idol. However, we later find out the truth is that her singing, her album, was the only way for her to cheat the system so that she could communicate with Shu Amiguchi, due to the fact that Ida Tetsuya had blocked her from being able to meddle in the affairs of the third loop due to his selfishness of wanting to reset the loop and, well, bring back his Tomi Kisaragi, who just happens to be Miyuki Inaba. Miyuki Inaba technically perished in the second loop because of the fact that the Type 98 that she, three others, as well as Juro Izumi were in, were about to shift to Sector 0 to back up their data so that they could continue the fight in the next loop with their memories intact. However, a failure occurred, or should I say, a kaiju attacked and blew up the Type 98 during the shifting process, which ended up with Juro Izumi backing up his data. However, the four other people with him, including Tomi Kisaragi, perished. Ida Tetsuya, unable to accept her death, eventually started to dabble in memory transplant and creating artificial android bodies. He eventually succeeded in downloading Tomi Kisaragi into an android body, giving her a technical second chance at life. He attained that knowledge by torturing prisoner number 426, or should I say Juro Izumi, many times until he finally gave the answer to him on how to transplant memories back into the simulation. Miyuki Inaba would later lose the android body Ida Tetsuya made for her via having it get hijacked by prisoner number 426, who would eventually use it to track down Natsuno Minami. Miyuki Inaba was also very adamant about becoming a Sentinel AI pilot, just like with Keitaro Hijiyama and Tamao Kurabe. However, Ida was completely against the idea because he was afraid that she would be detected as an anomaly in the simulation and then deleted, considered as a third-party program, as a virus, etc. Miyuki Inaba's continued refusal to have herself be downloaded into the Tomi Kisaragi of the third loop would eventually lead to Ida Tetsuya going down a very dark path, which will be detailed in his side of the story, or in his episode, not his side of the story. Even through everything that happened and transpired, she still held her love and affection for Ida Tetsuya. So much so that she said to Ida in the finale of the game that, quote, there was only one man that she would ever rely on, and that man was him. And that was why she relied on Shu Amiguchi during the third loop, because Shu Amiguchi is Ida Tetsuya. However, I'll expand more on that in Ida Tetsuya's character profile, or should I say, Shu Amiguchi's. Anyway, Miyuki Inaba and Ida Tetsuya were childhood friends turned lovers eventually because of how much they care for each other and supported each other in their endeavors. So much so that Ida actually styled himself into a bad boy because of a comment by Tomi made. She made as a jest, by the way, that she preferred bad boys, which Ida took very seriously. Though, considering that the third loop Tomi Kisaragi fell in love with Nenji Ogata, who's styled in the form of a bad boy, maybe it wasn't completely a joke. Anywho, Miyuki Inaba was integral in her part in helping the 15 survivors escape the simulation. What she did was actually quite simple. She acted as a conduit of data transmission, allowing the simulation's data to be directly transmitted to the command ship, so that the command ship would read what was happening inside the simulation and realize that there was something wrong with it. Because if you recall from Shinonomi's video, she made it so that the simulation, even though it's actually going wrong, would be read as going correctly when she overwrote the third phase of the project during her, I suppose, depression from Ida betraying her love in 2188. Miyuki Inaba would now remain on the command ship, forever circling the planet. However, she would later be accompanied by Ida. One thing to make a clear distinction of: the command ship is something that is led by the self-replicating probes. Just in case you haven't seen my video on the Interstellar Development Project, the command ship is something led by the self-replicating probes to manage or administrate all the things that are happening on said specific planet, such as the terraforming processes and the facilities being built. It has no connection to the actual colony that where the probes were sent, which would technically be the command center of the operation itself. Ida and Tomi, or should I say Miyuki Inaba, would now happily be together, and finally they would be able to enjoy each other's company as a couple. So, I suppose you could consider it a happy ending for them, even though they don't have any biological bodies, but they're both now essentially bits of data, living sentient data, living inside the command ship. So now it's time to discuss the Tomi Kisaragi of the third loop. The Tomi Kisaragi of the third loop is is a bit of a tomboy. She's very energetic and supremely confident in herself. Apparently, she gained her confidence after posting her songs on online sites and getting good reviews, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's easy enough to build self-esteem when you actually have a good singing voice and people are just telling you the truth about it. She hails from Sector 3, the sector that simulates the timeline of 2009 to 2029. She and Megumi Yakushige are best friends, and both of them first learn about the kaiju and the Sentinels from Juro Izumi, who just happened to have been shifted right in front of them by pure chance. Oddly enough, by pure utter chance, Juro got shifted in front of two other pilot candidates. What are the odds, right? Tomi and Megumi were eventually evacuated to Sector 2 after Sector 3 fell to the kaiju. The first thing Tomi started to do as soon as she arrived in Sector 2 was try to find a way to go back to Sector 3. Because, well, she didn't want to believe that her home, her timeline, essentially the place she was born and raised in, was now completely gone, decimated by the kaiju. She would later get her wish in the most in the most surprising of forms. When she discussed the topic of Shikishima Industries with Miwako Sawatori, she was surprised to learn that Miwako actually had a childhood friend who was very, very important within Shikishima because of his parents' position within the company, namely Nenji Ogata. When Tomi met Nenji, they both had an antagonistic relationship and, well, pretty much made fun of each other. And on a very unfortunate note for them, because wow, one, the timing was horrible, and two, I'm not even sure why the time travel machine inside the science room's effect actually reached all the way to them. Anyway, it just so happened that Shinonome at the time also needed to go back to Sector 3, so she activated the shifter inside the science lab without anyone's authorization or knowledge. And somehow, due to the location where Tomi, Nenji, and Miwako were meeting, they got unintentionally shifted to Sector 3 alongside Ryoko Shinonome. It was during this period of time when they were traveling across the ruined landscape of Sector 3 that Tomi and Nenji would start to get closer to each other. And let's see here. When they finally came back to Sector 2, Tomi would later look for Tsukasa Okino because she wanted his help in going back to the future, specifically going back to the terminal, so that she could satiate her curiosity and get some answers to her questions. Which led her to meeting Miyuki Inaba, the second loop version of Tomi Kisaragi. It was also here that Tomi would receive her Sentinel from Miyuki Inaba. Miyuki Inaba would divulge some information about what was happening to Tomi, and that was enough for Tomi to resolve herself to join in the fight with her Sentinel against the kaiju. Tomi was busy after she got out of the simulation because in the epilogue, 5 years have passed and they return back to the simulation after restoring it, and as she quoted, she now has a child with Nenji Ogata. We're unsure of the age, but they did indeed get married and have a child, maybe more. And so with that, it concludes this episode of 13 Sentinel Character Files. Tomi Kisaragi was an interesting character, but the next one will be even more interesting, namely Ida Tetsuya, our very much devoted yandere to Tomi. Oh gosh. Anyway, if you're still watching this video, or should I actually not watching because there's not much to watch. If you're still listening to my character profile episode, thank you very much for viewing this video and see you next time. Hopefully see you next time anyway. Like, comment, subscribe, enjoy yourself. Do whatever the hell you want because this is done for the benefit of, well, pure entertainment and also pure exposition because I'm rather obsessed right now with 13 Sentinels Aegis stream. It really is a great game. Great story, great characters. Well, admittedly, some of the character arcs are kind of weak, I don't deny that. But even so, overall, it's magnificently well written. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, sorry about that. So, bye!